Okay, great. 5:30 Tuesday, Thursday. Thursday, April 3rd, calling the Economic Development Commission meeting to order. We'll go around. Robert Boris, Commissioner.
Joe Nelson, Commissioner.
Commissioner.
Alex
We have anybody online? No? Not yet.
I don't think so.
Not right now.
Not yet.
All right. Excellent. So we did roll call, public communication. Anybody? Joe, you had something great happen.
Oh, we did, yeah? I should bring that up, huh?
Yeah.
So Community Speaks Out did move in this week to their building. It's all bought and set up for activities. We haven't really done too much. Tonight's the very first meeting. We're really super excited about it. We did have the Connex boxes, and so we do have bicycles that were donated by Mystic Cycle Works, which is another local business that they gave us 14 bikes that very nice bikes. So people can be able to come and just take them out of the Connex, use them for the day, bring them back. If they're in recovery and they need it for transportation, for work and stuff, they can keep it. And we have fishing poles and everything else in there. So it's been pretty exciting times at Community Speaks Out right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, can I talk or?
Yeah.
The manager of the place, I'm not sure what her name is, I can't remember, but she gave me a call one day and asked about doing an energy audit, those type of things. Have
Yes.
you guys been able to work that out?
We haven't had it yet. We're still kind of new to the building. We just bought it in December. It's ready now, but mechanically, we do want to look at some things like maybe putting in the hyperheat.
Okay.
And maybe a new couple doors or windows and stuff. And I'd love to have you come in and take a look at it.
Okay. I did try to set her up with Lantern, our energy audit group.
Okay.
It's residential's. It's a good first step.
Yep.
So I was, I'd like you guys to go through that process first and then, and then go from there and determine, where your issues are and then build off that.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Jake. We're just going around, public communications. Anything you want to share about since our last meeting?
No, everything's great.
Except the weather.
We're doing outreach at a separate time, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
All right, approval of minutes. Everyone had that March 6th meeting minutes. Yeah, second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so moved. Okay, old business outreach calendar and communications. That,
Yep, so hoping you can share about the businesses you got to visit, or if you didn't, any hindrances over the last month. And Joe, I'm not sure if Joe and Bob, I found out today there was an issue giving you guys access to the Google Drive where those exist, but I sent around a bunch of stuff today.
Yeah, you sent me about 20 emails.
yeah.
In a row.
It was the only way I could do it. It wouldn't give me access, like it wouldn't let me share a full folder, so I'll have to share individual files with.
And it was just,
you.
maybe it's our security on our side.
Yeah,
It seemed like it, but
Yeah.
it was saying because your emails weren't Gmail addresses, but George had a Gmail and it wasn't working for his either. And I've never
Okay.
gotten that notification ever using Google. So
Yeah.
sorry about that, but
Well, I didn't talk to anyone on my list. Is that what you're asking if we did talk to
Yeah,
anyone?
yeah.
I didn't on my list, but I have been working with the Bowling Alley. They're interested in the pivot grant. So
Okay.
just as a beginning discussion, I know they're working, there's some other stuff they work with state level, but they didn't realize that existed. So, and I'm there a lot, so I should have probably told them ahead of time, but we're working on that.
Well, we have this in our update later, but we are pretty much have expended all the funds.
So you have,
Yeah,
okay.
so just, we can dive into a little bit further later, but unless the ones that we have slated don't get us like the paperwork, we'd have some at that point, but at this point, it's pretty much
Okay.
all used, which is a good problem to have.
That is.
Yes. We've expended it.
anybody else have outreach stuff?
Yeah, so I reached out to my March list. I had a similar problem. I can't edit in the shared folder.
Okay.
I just sent you a note, like, not even 20 minutes ago. So Pizza Palace, I missed the manager, but I'll head down there. He's there from 10 to 1, so it's a little bit tough, but I guess I'll get lunch.
The place.
Yeah. Cynthia Driftwood is interested in understanding what we do and how we can help. And I had to talk to the owner of Flats, but I did reach out. Noon is usually the best time, and they're right across the street from each other. So I think you probably did that.
Yes.
And then I left messages with my April assignments, but this is helpful. So, appreciate that.
Do we have new ones for April?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I had three also. I had Atlantic Coast Entertainment, which is a DJ videographer kind of thing. I went to the house, they're right there on Fort Hill. And although the sign said open, it wasn't open. So I left my card, and then that was the end of the week. Then I called early, beginning of the week. Nobody answered, so I left a kind of longish voicemail. And explained who I was, left off contact information. He's got the card. I think it's pretty much a one person kind of operation. And then Letty's Flowers, although you have an address, they don't actually have a showroom. And so I called and had a nice conversation with this young man, or whoever he is. He really appreciated me reaching out, but they moved to New London. So they're not Groton anymore. But I got lunch twice at Chester's. I went to Chester's and they said, oh, the person you really want to talk to isn't here. She'll be here next week. So I was like, all right, well, I'll come back for another lunch. Good. I hadn't eaten there before. It's good.
Oh, great.
Good barbecue. Oh, yeah. And her name is Hunter. And I don't know if she's part of the family ownership or not, but she clearly was a manager. She said someone had come a while back and didn't leave a name or a card or anything, but there had some reach out. She was very open to us reaching out, staying connected. As I walked out, I said, I forgot to ask about social media, but I'm absolutely certain, I would bet on it, that she'd be really open to that. And I mentioned, that, sometimes there are grants and, we just want to firm up, communication. And she was very pleasant about it. So I think that, they're here to stay. They're busy. I was there, first time I went there was right at lunch hour. They get a lot of military in. And they were busy. Yeah, I think that was a really good contact.
Once we figure out kind of the editing preferences, as you learn, the best time that people want to be reached, or, if, okay, that's not the actual storefront, update that document and then it'll help us. This is just our starting point, and you can only get so much data from GIS and everything. So that'll help us continually update it. So it's in,
Yeah, I wouldn't go to Chester's until after 1.
Yeah.
That quieted down. That was my second visit. And in fact, I was literally the only one eating. Everybody had been in their rush hour. But yeah, she's quite nice.
To Midnight Angel Studio and Tattoo Shop. The only people that were there were getting tattoos. So they weren't really available, so I left an email, but and I also did that with, there was a boba place that was like right across the road. They don't know what in, so I left my email, but now I have business cards, so I can hand those out. That'd be useful. Go to the barn, and I did catch the owner. It's Brian Evans. He's super interested in helping us, like reaching out. Anything that we need, he's offered his facility to us as well if we ever need it, like those meetings or any community events. Yeah, they have an expanding business. They have, I think, 3 beers that they make now. He said that they're in 1,000 locations across the United States. They're in like 7 states, I think.
Wow.
They're looking to expand to like 5 or 6 more. Said that they did like 500,000 in revenue just at the barn location in Groton, and then like $1 million beverage sales across the United States. So they're a pretty thriving business. They're super open to helping the community. They said that they helped out a couple other times. And I know they're a big participant in the
think it's a July 4th parade that goes right through. So, I think that was really fruitful, and I'll have to keep my eye out on some of the stuff that we have. So that way I can like bring it up to him, but they're super open to anything that we have.
Great, thank you.
I think Pantea has joined us. Hey, Pantea, how are you? If you can hear me, we had public communication. If you have anything to share or anything, on that.
Muted too.
Sorry for the background noise. No, nothing to share.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's see, do we have any other old business? Anything else we should cover?
I think-
No?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, on to new business before we get into town of Groton Economic Assistance Fund presentation. Does anybody here have anything new business wise to share, bring up? I want to talk about.
We did get quotes back for the submarine sale. And they're a little higher. Obviously, everything comes in higher than you ever assume, but we're looking probably in a $2.5 million range for the whole entire project, which when you see the enormity of the project, I actually got to bid a certain part of it, like just the metal pieces. And when you really look at how long it is, the full length of the submarine. And then the metal walls going all the way down, which means just the structure for the sidewalk, everything else. So it came in a little bit higher than we thought we wanted to. We're up against the gun trying to raise money. So we're doing 2 fundraising meetings a month on top of our regular meeting. So if anyone has any ideas or wants to be part of that also, I know everyone's super busy.
How close are you guys? How close are you in the budget?
We've raised 1.5 million, but that leaves us with another full, and 2.5 is almost exact. So we want a little bit of a buffer on the backside. So we're thinking we have to go like another 1.1, which is, it's a significant amount of money, especially with the times we're in right now. But if anyone's knows the business, and Groton Utilities has already been involved, so. But if there's another way that anyone that knows a business that wants to be involved, there's a lot of different ways to get involved, but someone will be knocking on your door. It will probably, it may be me, it may not be me, but we're gonna be asking for money.
Site work, or is that? the
That's
sale
what-
itself?
2.5 is the whole project. We had to purchase the land from the state, believe it or not, because the state owned that
Right.
part of it. So there's money that's been spent already. And now in electric folks doing a lot of it in kind donations. We've raised a
Right.
certain amount of cash. So there's, in totality, it'll be 2.5. Cash raise will probably be.
It seemed like history heritage was gonna take care of the sale itself, or a lot of that.
There's absolute chaos in DC right now, so we're not even sure where we stand with them at all. They can't even fly out and look at different projects. They use civilians to look at certain things. So there's, it's chaos. So yeah.
Sarah, what's the nature of the project?
This right in front of the public library, it's called the Groton Sale. So it's actually a decommissioned nuclear submarine it was USS Groton.
Mhm.
And it's actually the sail that's gonna be on a monument. This is gonna be to me, Smithsonian level. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you guys have all seen it, but I can send you the link.
Okay.
And it, so in relation to where the rudder is in the sail, it's the exact size and trying to give you the feeling as if you were standing on the water next to it. So the top of the sail is going to be 16 feet off of ground level when you're standing from the side. So it's going to be significant and it's going to be great. It's just a 10-year project so far, maybe 12. And we got a bit to go. I think we're a little bit surprised with some of the bids, but we are still selling pavers. That's a way that you can do it if you want to do it privately, or people just put their name, or a lot of folks that work at EB put their EB logo. We have the Dolphins. So if someone's in the service and they want to do that, we got one for my father for his birthday. He was in the Army. You can put any branch of service, even anything, any business.
Do you still have trees left? I know Rotary, we bought a tree.
Trees are gone.
Yeah, really?
Yep. So we sold 20 trees for 10,000 each. Hillary bought one as well.
Yeah.
That's gonna seem like a bargain now that we got all the real prices.
The sale.
Should have charged 50
You should have
grand.
wanted to when you could have. Yeah, because I think if we rethought that, the tree probably would have been more like 20,000.
Yeah.
But we're reaching out. We have a strong community presence, and
Yeah.
we know we'll get there. It's just sometimes it's disheartening when you're pushing for so long, and but we're excited. And when you get to see, when you see the pictures and what it's gonna be, I think people are gonna be I'm excited about it, gonna be more excited.
The sub is buried under the grass, just there. It's gonna have a
Yeah.
mound that like, it's gonna look just like the sub's buried in the grass. With the
It's
sail.
almost if you were sitting dockside, if you were in a boat, not very few people will get to see that view of a submarine ever, because you'd have to particularly be in one of the Zodiacs. Because, you know, if you're at the base, you're looking down on it from the pier. So you'd have to be in a Zodiac to get the feel and the length and the size. It's gonna really, and then there's storyboards that go all the way down. There's a whole committee working on the story of nuclear submarines in this region. So you have, you know, basically 200 feet of storyboards and just a lot to see. It's gonna be amazing.
Have you built a relationship with Otter Light Brewing?
I don't know, but we are all reaching out. That's the thing. We're going to different
Yeah.
places that way too. So we may have reached out to them. I think we went down when they do I manned the table when they did the breweries all down in the city,
Okay.
so we had a table there a couple times, brought a video of what was happening. So we are reaching out, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, I know that they're releasing a new beer as part of the Iowa project, and they had an event. It might be this weekend.
Okay.
But probably worth connecting with them and seeing if
Love
there's
that.
ways that you.
I'd love to have them do a Groton Monument beer. That might be a good idea.
And they're one of our pivot grant folks.
He said they're doing the beer for the USS Iowa. That's getting commissioned this weekend.
Yeah, they're having a big, the whole streets are blocked off. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're one of our pivot grant recipients that we're working with too.
Excellent.
Is it the flagpole? Is that what they got through?
I don't know.
Sorry, what's
No.
that?
Actually, yes, it
Yeah, they
is.
installed a brand new flagpole.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
Great. Any other new business? I do have one thing to bring up. So Sailfest is canceled on the New London side. I didn't know if that creates an opportunity for us to mobilize Groton businesses and maybe do something on our side of the river. Accenture, I know we probably coordinate with the city EDC and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's something to think about. If there's, you know, something we can help with. You know,
I think that they're still doing the fireworks. So I think
Yeah.
Groton will probably be the same.
yeah,
I think, because New London will be the same too, just for the fireworks.
right.
They're just not gonna have the crowds Thursday night, Friday night
Yeah.
and Saturday night, but I think Groton, because they are putting on the same fireworks show.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if there's some way to mobilize our businesses for our side of the river to do something, you know, around the fort or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is, but I'm sure, I mean, we'll get more people
Yeah,
because of it or something like that. Just as an EDC, I don't know. There's something to think about. If anybody has ideas or whatever, we reach out to our town staff.
You mean like have a table, like table as EDC?
What's that?
Be like have a table? at
A
the-
table or like just get, I don't know, help make our side more self-festy-ish, right? You know, fill the vacuum.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of coordination in it. That's why I bring it up, you know, a few months beforehand. I don't know what the mayor,
we may get more people.
yeah,
Yeah, because a lot of people will go to New London just because there's so much, you know, there's
Yeah.
rides and everything else. If that's not there.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people do
Well,
choose to come to the monument or the.
there's Dame Street vendors are there all the time, you know,
Yeah.
every year anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe I don't know if it's too short notice to brand our side for something, but maybe through our social media networks and things like that, we can hold the town together and get our businesses to sort of participate more in what's already happening and make it a little more fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we
It's an
can
idea.
definitely try to connect them a bit more to be engaged or involved.
Mhm. It might be worth connecting with Parks and Rec as well, since they do a lot of the coordination for our celebration on the
Yeah.
events.
I mean, every year we used to scream east side of the river, who can yell louder? We're gonna win this year.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah,
All right. Town of Groton Economic Assistance Fund presentation.
Yeah, so this is me. Similar to last month's tip presentation, we're gonna talk about the Economic Assistance Fund. I'll give like an overview of the program. We'll talk about how it works and then talk more about the guidelines and the role of the EDC subcommittee. for this one. It's just a little tricky.
I know it's the worst because it goes in big instead of W. There, at least it's on the screen.
Oh, yeah. All right, so the Economic Assistance Fund is a one-time reimbursement for public infrastructure improvements or business development expenses associated with business opening, relocation, or expansion. The reimbursements are awarded after a project is completed and inspected and approved by building inspectors. It's really in the guidelines it mentions, it's designed to facilitate the development of businesses for job creation, increasing tradable sectors of the economy, or new and significant increases in taxable property. And that last part, taxable property, is really how the funding has been intended to be used over the last 8 years or so. All the awards you'll see in the next slide have really been provided based on significant increases in property taxes at whichever parcel. There is a 2-year time period for the projects to be completed, and that starts the date that town council approves the application. The guidelines direct the process of review, endorsement, and then recommendation to town council. And there's a EDC subcommittee for the Economic Assistance Fund that plays an advisory role, and reviews and endorses the project. And then it'll move forward to town council from there. So I'll give a couple more specifics on that in a minute. So here's what I was just mentioning, how the awards have been allotted in the past. So I just picked 3 that were more recent, and each project had either created housing and business space, or at least housing. And then all 3 here had similar infrastructure costs. So you'll see water and sewer, communication lines, sidewalk, road improvements, RESIFT, similar utility upgrades, stormwater system. The commercial aspect was, or the business aspect was the commercial kitchen addition. And then at 10 Fort Hill Road, again, sewer installation, roadway repair. The funding basis, you'll notice real big increases in the property value for any given site.
So those awards don't seem to be tied to those increases at all. Why are the awards like basically half?
Yep. So that's exactly what I was going to talk about.
Oh,
No, you're good. The basis is the awards can't be more than 50% of the project costs. And they can't be.
Overall projects. Was anyway.
I think it's
Yeah.
50% of the
Yeah.
tax.
No,
Well, it's 50% proposed.
What, you don't have project cost up there?
so that was my mistake. It can't be more than 50% of the proposed assessed tax value.
okay.
And it can't be more than I have that. It also can't be more than 50% of the requested amount. I have the guidelines in front of me. I'll pull that up in a second and double check that. But no awards have been for the full amount requested. The value of requested funds is no more than 50% of project costs.
So the request is probably the business is asking for the most they could possibly get, right?
Yes.
So they're determined.
It's not here.
Yeah.
Why you wouldn't just make it.
Sure you.
That-
So if we're in an advisory role, it'd be crucial to understand for the people who come in to make these kinds of requests,
Mhm.
to
Mm.
not necessarily to game the system, but to
Right.
understand what it is that they're really asking
Yeah.
for.
I'm sure you have to show quotes and all that too, probably.
Yeah.
Well, that is concrete, because at the end of the day, if your property's worth 50,000, then it assesses for
Yeah.
Okay,
100.
that's, yeah,
You
sorry.
can apply for half of that,
Half will be assessed.
half of the brand new assessment of what, or up to, I guess, no more than. That's how I understand. it.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. So
Having the difference?
The
or having-
delta.
That is cost of
It's
project.
worth than what it is now.
It is cost of project.
what Joe was just saying, in the guidelines, it reads, the total award may not exceed 2 years worth of anticipated local tax revenues based upon the improvements. And the other part is that no more than 50% of the overall project can be awarded.
Those requests are all cost of project.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, and the request might not be the total project cost,
Right.
right? So it's, we're not saying like the whole project cost 207. It's just like
It's
the,
listed under project. It says like $207,000. That may not be the full cost of the project.
Correct. I think in each of these three cases, in each of these three cases, the full cost was more, but this is what they requested. Thanks for
How
working.
does an applicant know what their assessed value is gonna be when they're done?
well, they usually, they can give an estimate, but we work with our tax assessor based on the information they give us. So we kind of get an idea from both sides essentially, but mostly we work with our own town and with Mary essentially to figure out what she would anticipate the assessment would be.
And so if we had someone that was interested in it, they go through a whole application process and then all those numbers are presented before they make a decision on.
Yes,
Yes.
what-
exactly.
If they're gonna do the project or not.
Yeah, so they can give us an idea, of course, but we'll double check and make sure it aligns basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Okay, the just more details on the eligible costs. Pre-development is allowed and included in the guidelines. But same vein, all the requests focus on those infrastructure costs. I think that's where folks are getting more bang for their buck. And innovation is also noted, so related to research and development, or innovative practices and technologies. But again, all the awards have been based on the public infrastructure improvements that result in higher property values. So the policy, it is a fairly straightforward process. And the guidelines, it should say guidelines because it's less formal than a policy. But the guidelines direct the process of review, endorsement, and recommendation. And it starts with a pre-meeting. If folks are interested, we ask them to reach out to myself or Corinne to get a sense of their project and make sure that it is applicable. If they're still interested, they can submit an application. It's a one-page application where they do get to provide a description of the project, how it improves, or how it benefits the town, and then provide some of those financial figures that we're looking for. For anything, any projects, any awards or like requested awards greater than $10,000, it does need to go to the EDC subcommittee for review. And then the subcommittee will bring it back to the full EDC. And as a full body, you'll vote or come to consensus. And from there, it goes to the town manager who brings it to Cal and town council. Subcommittee meetings do have to be public. And we went back and looked at some old meetings, and In 2024, Pantea, Jake, and George were the last sub members. So the required criteria, these all have to be hit. Must increase the local tax base, create or retain jobs within Groton, and of course conform to current zoning regs and the PLCD.
So these are all over, right?
Nope, these have to hit, yes.
How do you measure retaining jobs?
It's asked on the, oh, well, creating is asked on the application.
Okay.
And retaining, I think that they would speak to the same part in the application. Do you have questions?
Yeah, it's not defined in the guidelines as far as like retain means 5 years or 3 or just something like that. I think it's pretty high level, and this program doesn't have a specific policy as much as these guidelines. So I think sometimes it's left higher level to work with businesses. So we're not cutting people out on like a super strict hard line, and we want a little bit of flexibility there. So I think sometimes we work with them to define that. So it's not set in stone like a 10-year requirement or something like that.
Right, for retaining, it's not listed like that. For created jobs, it does state that the jobs have to be established full-time within 4 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry if we already covered it. Where's the source of this funds? Is it local tax dollars, state or federal?
This is through CIP, through our town.
Out through our town. So this is all town money
Yes.
being reapportioned to help grow. Okay.
So one of the reasons why I asked about this core question is that the tax base is just based on property, right? So there's no way that a project that say installs a machine that they're gonna hire an operator for is gonna qualify for this grant.
No.
Which is why all the infrastructure, all the ones that have been granted have been infrastructure, because there's no way to meet these criteria without it being literally a property base.
I think it largely was originally intended for infrastructure. Yeah.
Well, I just don't know how to innovate land, I guess. That's my problem.
Yeah.
So, we had a recent application where innovation was kind of the focus of equipment, and I spoke to Mary Gardner, and we don't assess. It's like personal property
Right.
or business property wouldn't be categorized under this. Yeah.
And I think maybe an example, so overall, it's essentially focused on public infrastructure improvements or business development expenses associated with businesses opening, relocating, or expanding. So that's kind of where the tie-in for jobs comes in. So it's not necessarily a direct relation of like infrastructure means a construction job or something like that, as much as like we worked with the CrossFit business, and essentially that infrastructure improvement allowed them to even be in business, which resulted in jobs. So that's kind of how we get there. And I think that's the overall intent for the program.
I'd be interested in if there's any report about how many of these projects were go, no go based on this funding. Like, was it going to happen anyway? Or was this funding the thing that made the businesses, and even if not, it maybe made it easier so that they could hire more people, just some sort of outcome related conversation could add some kind of meat to this for the town council and the people of the town to understand how effective it is and how it's being kind of targeted.
We've gotten a couple grants through the state at Hillary. And even us at the end, it's like, did they work more hours because we put that machine?
Yeah.
So even for the business itself, it's tough to like kind of put your finger on it. And then it does come down to, we bid on things based on time. So EB says, can you make it? We just got a brand new water jet. And we're able to get like 50,000 from the state towards that water jet. We didn't hire another guy to run it because we already have a guy to run it. But we're able to meet deadlines with EB that now, if you're missing dates and times with them, you get less opportunity to quote with them.
Yeah.
So it's so convoluted with how stuff works. It's, well,
Yeah.
in business, it's to put your finger on it and say, oh yeah, it's exact direct result. Sometimes after 2 years ago, oh my God, thank God.
Mhm.
Like just for example, that we used to be able to cut 7-inch thick steel and now we can do 10-inch with this new one. That means that if it's 8 inches, I don't have to go to a vendor and send it to Pennsylvania and have him cut it. So, yeah, that, now my operator stayed here and did it, but to put all that together, because the state asked us to get that money from the state, we went through all these questions.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but I think they have a general consensus that, you know, if you're, again, you stayed in business, which is really the goal of all this money, I think.
Mhm.
And then hopefully growing it, you know, adding people, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes, like technically that water jet could take away someone's job, you know, so.
And I think,
But without it, you can't stay profitable.
Exactly.
again, if state programs are just famously overburdensome as far as the reporting and all the different hoops and how specific it is. And I think with this, it's intentionally a little bit more high level so we can work with the businesses because it is so different for each one or each project. The application is pretty high level. We just start with basic information. We meet with them, we understand their needs. We work with our own assessor to kind of get to the bottom of if it is a good fit, just so there is that flexibility, because you're absolutely right. Each project is so different. The needs are so different. The outcomes are so different. So we kind of have it high level for that reason, so we can work with businesses and understand how it could fit, you know, and to your point, Bob, if there is that but-for argument that they truly need it to get where they need to go. So.
And did you guys decide on the, because I know the state asked us the 6-month and 12-month, but you mentioned 4 years. That seems like an awful lot of reporting to go back. I mean, for us, like, yeah, we got the money and yeah, it was helpful, but I don't know if I would be interested in a 4-year report of, you know, and again, I think a lot of it, you just film the paper out over and over
Right.
again because we've kept the same employees, but that seems a little burdensome to me.
Yeah.
Like that could be intimidating for a small business.
Right, and we can take that in consideration too, because I think this was written obviously before both of us, but we can always take feedback too, if that's something that you think would be off-putting. But I know there hasn't been a lot of, it's not like the state either in that it's like, we're coming after you if you didn't do that
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
I think it is a little bit more laid back, especially with the previous ones, but moving ahead too, we can always work with businesses, and if they're worried about the reporting's too long or something like that, we can adjust.
Yeah, the state's been satisfied with that water jet. We did a 6-month report. I owe them one right now. That's why I had. So I gotta fill that out probably next week, but they'll get that report. And that kind of closes it out. So as far as they're concerned, we took possession of the equipment. We own it. It's in our building. And it's been a year and I don't think they wanna have to track it as well.
Right, right, and keep it simple.
You can't predict what the economy is gonna be 4 years. From
You can't.
You can't predict what it was gonna be from yesterday to today.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
last thing. So to me, the reason why I'm sort of why I'm a little, maybe confused about what our relationship to this is that it seems that the users of these grants are gonna be outside of the town of Groton. Like our best targets are people who we want to come in, or that people who are ready to leave. So is that like, is this a retention thing? Who are we talking to about this?
Sorry, what do you mean that are outside of Groton?
Well, it seems like the
Incentives.
yeah, the incentives are
Yeah.
are for people who we as a body are not interacting.
No, I think it's intended to help local businesses get over infrastructure costs to get started. So Sif Bake Shop is one of the ones that's used it before. Grand Wine and Spirits, CrossFit, Inga is like, you say that right. So I think so far it's all been for businesses here. Is that what you're asking?
It could be for a business that's, say, has a new contract, and is trying to pump themselves up
Okay.
to meet that demand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you could look at it that way as well. But you're right. I mean, a lot of it times is, okay, if you don't get it, are you leaving? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, then, yeah,
right. Then let's talk about incentives to get you to
Right.
stay. Right. So
or comp.
Not to spend too much time on this, but so this place went in where I forgot the name of the donut shop that sipped on there on the corner, and it's called Off the Hook. It's a takeout fish. I've been there. With them to go in and do the work they did, would that be something that would, or is this something? I mean, if it was available, blah, blah, blah.
You mean the infrastructure improvements that they did?
Yeah. I don't know how much they did. I know there was a lot of work in the building.
It could be. Yeah, it sounded like it might fit if it helped them. Did it help them expand essentially?
I don't even know who the people are that, oh, I know it is. It's JNR, isn't it?
It's JNR.
JNR did it. Yeah, so I guess you could say that it helped him expand.
Yeah, that's a new business,
New
right?
business,
Yeah.
It almost seems like, did they come to you for the old 99, that the people doing that? They're doing an unbelievable job there. I don't know.
Oh, are they? Oh, down, yeah, yeah, yeah.
99 restaurant.
Yeah, it's wooden plank.
But yeah,
That's one of your best restaurant. We have one next to our house that's mobbed all the time.
Is it? I'm just thinking that's a company that, well, from Jake's perspective is, you'd go to, like, if you knew of a great restaurant and they had no idea about Groton, like, and you were a DECD and said, hey, this is a great restaurant. We have grants in Groton that help people.
Yeah.
You know, that might be like,
A grand
for
and
us.
an empty storefront, yeah.
Yeah.
Two birds, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
everything, a lot of these programs have been around for a while, but not necessarily used. And so a lot of our work lately has been kind of revamping them, dusting them off, figuring out what could work or be more efficient, and then getting them back out there too. So if you have businesses in mind, that's great. And that's one more thing we can.
I want
respond to
Pepe's
as well.
in Groton.
So just to sum it up, so basically, as a body here, we should be promoting this. We're letting people know that this is available. That's the purpose of this presentation, to make sure. And I assume like sector and other areas also point people here they let people know that these funds are available to Groton.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And we have,
Right.
you guys will get a new postcard, since we're moving on from Pivot. I'm just kind of jumping into this one. And it has that same like, hello, I'm with the EDC. Here's how I can help you in the back. And the front's pretty generic. It just talks about how we can support with small business grants or incentives. So we wanted it to live for a while, so it's pretty universal. So that's exactly
Yeah.
like what you could use this for, and say, if you need infrastructure help, that's one of the resources. So
I want to get those guys.
great.
Is there a fund balance on this?
Yes.
There is.
There's currently $406,425.90.
No money.
Does it accumulate year over year? If it's not used one year, it just resets?
No, right now it's where it is, and we haven't asked for more just because it hasn't moved. So once we can show it's moving again, we could be in a position to ask for more. So,
Got it.
yeah. About
Yep.
400.
$406,425.90.
I got a project that needs exactly.
Actually, no, my project needs $812,000. Yeah, $812,000. $13. That's what my project needs. So, yeah, it's better for me.
All right, thank you for those questions and like kind of workshopping it right away. That is, why we're having these conversations, and of course, bringing it to other businesses. So we do have an application already. So I uploaded the guidelines into the Google Drive today. I uploaded those today. We'll convene the subcommittee so that we can get the review process going and schedule a meeting, since they have to be public. And then the plan is for the May meeting, just have the subcommittee come and provide that recommendation, allow the full body to have discussion, and then make the formal recommendation to town manager.
And at that point as well, we can utilize EDC to support the referral that we send to town council. You're more than welcome to come to those meetings if you like as well, or join on Zoom to support if it's approved, why, and why we think it'd be effective.
If it died at the EDC, does it go in front of the council, or is that it?
That would be it.
Okay, so we're the vetting body,
Yes.
basically.
Great. And we figured what better time to get you guys up to speed on EAF, since we have a new application. Perfect. Great.
All right. Thank you. All right, chair report, just a couple clarifying things from last meeting here. Just go over the TIF programs, a state program. All states except for Arizona have TIF programs. While TIF programs can be found across the nation, not programs. Then Economic Assistance Fund is a publicly funded incentive program offered through the town where financial assistance may be provided as reimbursement for public infrastructure improvements or business development expense, as we just saw. Completed EAF applications are referred to the EDC subcommittee for review and recommendations before being forwarded to the town manager. Afterward, the application goes to the town council for consideration. We just talked about that. ARPA, the town council allocated ARPA funds in multiple rounds taking place the fall of 2021, spring 2022, spring 2023, and spring 2024, totaling $8,500,894.04. Going to various purposes ranging from town projects to community partner incentives. Initiatives, the funds had to be allocated by 12/31/24 and need to be spent by that same time in 2026. And it's all allocated. Right?
Yes, that is, and that we, those are just clarifying items. I think there's potentially a request for us to go after additional funds, and we wanted to clarify that they are spent and allocated and be out the door by that time.
So we'll give Bob similar updates meeting to meeting as we get questions or just need to go back and check something. So Bob, you asked about like the for project, like if any of these projects needed, projects needed money, otherwise it would have continued. So like I can do some research with that and get back to you on next time.
Staff reports?
Great. We just had two brief ones. Essentially, we're continuing to work on our excess properties. So our Groton Heights property, I don't know if anyone's been following along with that. We got that through the full property sale review committee process. They made a shortlist recommendation to town council. Town council held interviews and they were slated to select their preferred project concept and development team two weeks ago. They ended up having some additional legal procedural questions. So they opted to go into executive session next Tuesday to kind of figure out some of those legal steps before moving ahead. And then hopefully at that point, we'll be able to have a path forward and they'll select their preferred project concept. So Pleasant Valley is not far behind. It's just was posted slightly later. So we just finished the property sale review committee interview process there. And that referral for the shortlist of their preferred project concepts will go to town council. We're thinking sometime in April, probably mid to late April. We're going to wrap up the Groton Heights steps first, and then we'll move into Pleasant Valley shortly after.
What's the anticipated use of Pleasant Valley? Is it gonna be housing?
Yeah, so the preferred scope of development that's in the RFP is essentially a menu that the town council puts together. So it's not required. It's essentially a menu they can pull from. We go to the experts and say, show us what can pencil with the site constraints or opportunities here. So it's not necessarily guaranteed housing, but it was requested that there would be. And if so, at least 10% was affordable. So that was one of the priorities for council. Additionally in particular for Pleasant Valley, maintaining some of the space for recreation or say like trails or something like that.
See, I was on Pleasant Valley. Is it appropriate for me to comment in any way?
No.
Okay, got it.
So that's still confidential until
Okay.
until basically the preferred development team's under contract. So
Got it.
good question.
So I wasn't on it, but I can tell you, we do need another car wash and grind.
Yeah.
Combination.
Oil change too.
We actually just did a whole community conversations about that. And I
Okay.
think the last car rush, what was
How,
how many years ago? Decades ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
not a
it
lot.
was 1989.
I know last year.
Three.
Okay.
No, are they still waiting for the cut in for the road?
It'll be 6 total. Yeah, they're waiting for the cut in.
how about
And
Groton
so-
Heights? Since I wasn't on that, can I say anything about that?
I guess,
No.
I mean, you're
I'll pass.
for sure, but as far as, go ahead, because you
Yeah.
weren't on that committee, so you.
No,
weren't
it
having
wasn't.
the
I heard one of
proprietary
one of the proposals has like a business innovation hub kind of component to it that I thought was really cool related to the EDC. And I hope the city is, happy about that, but I can't, I better not talk.
Well, the good news is-
It's a great process and I'm glad to see the whole process moving forward where all these schools are being dispositioned and the town is taking
Yeah.
action on some of our assets to bring in things that support the community. I'll say that.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
That building's been vacant for 17 years. And so a lot of the work that our team's doing is essentially working with that new policy to see that all the steps take place. How does each step plug into each one? I think you've probably seen the graphic I designed that basically takes that policy and breaks it into the phases. What happens when, why, what are the objectives, who's involved, to try to help ease some of the fear or, panic around like, well, what is happening, or
Yeah.
how do we know, or how do we choose? And I think that has been helping, so folks can follow along, see what's happening. And our folks who are in the decision-making positions, whether the committee or the council, can also see those steps. And as far as the remaining concepts or the finalists, they're both really great. So
Yeah.
I think either way, if one moves ahead.
Whatever the
better
council,
than
whatever the
thinking.
council decides, I think it's fantastic that they have things to decide on.
Definitely, yes.
It's gonna
It
improve
is.
our community, whatever the choices are. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
That building's getting past the point of being salvageable from a cost standpoint. So we're close. And then the second item for us is just, we kind of touched on this for the business pivot grant. We're really excited. We started with 100,000 and we've now essentially expended all the funds. And as you know, we partnered with the city as well to get some of the word out there. And we've been able to partner with a lot of folks in this last, I'd say, several months of our second push. So we're really excited about that. And let's see, I'm just counting really quick. We're currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 businesses of this last push to get the funds out the door that we're working with about 3 that we're just finalizing paperwork with. So it's Johnson's Hardware, Raj Cash and Carry, Christopher's Cafe, Advanced Improvements, Outer Lights Brewing, Juice Sushi, and then some of the other ones that we're still working with. We'll give you a final list once we finalize their approvals. So it's really great. It's 100 grand out the door to help local businesses. Yeah. So, and thank you for your help spreading the word as well. It was great seeing the postcards we had given you come in. So we saw that it was working, and the word of mouth really helped. And our staff, I think, did a really great job meeting with folks as well that maybe struggled with the application. It's 1 page, but if you're busy and you're not computer savvy, that might be hard for you. And so Clayton, Lauren as well on our team held meetings and went on site to help folks with some of those pieces. So it was a really great effort. So thank you, everyone. And that's my final item.
Cool. Clayton, anything or?
No, I mean, I was just gonna say, with Pivot Grant, I know last time we asked y'all to go ahead and promote it. I'm pretty sure within the following week, 3 of the businesses who were like, we're waiting to hear back from, they got their stuff in, and then we were like, okay, well, now we're almost out of funds. So it was just timing, right? Yeah.
All right, staff report, sir.
So the information I sent over had a lot to, is very similar to, last month. So I'll cut over what we did for last year, where about total money given out for rebates in 2024 was 1.6 million, of which we did quite a bit of home energy audit, energy saving audits, 99 of those. We put in 97 mini splits or HVAC systems and 48 smart thermostats. So that's kind of the total for last year. We are moving forward on some other programs as of now. I think I mentioned to you guys last time that I'm on the third leg of the stool. We've been doing a program called Heat Smart, which is facilitating home energy audits, installation, and then our third leg is heat pumps and HVAC units, mini splits for residential programs, resident. So we're still trying to promote that. So if you know anybody that needs insulation, has an old house, hasn't really looked into ways to make their house more efficient, that's something that we're working toward. I see that the money that we spend in that direction residents more than if I create a mini split program, because the price of the mini splits just go up in a lot of cases. So depending on that, I'm trying to get as much, trying to eliminate cost shift from, and getting the real value of the money to people that are living there. So that's renters, that's owners, that's that type of thing. We did have a Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce and Chamber of Commerce in Connecticut presented the state of Mystic. I did not go, so I'm not sure all about it. It was at the Mystic Hilton. And I think our mayor, city mayor talked, as well as a number of other people. Here's a nice picture of them, as you can see. The other thing that I want to talk about, and Robert, probably a little bit more. I started a program called Solar Plus. I have about $750,000 that I'm trying to facilitate solar in the Groton utility area. So we're giving up to $10,000. This is residents only, but it's facilitating solar and battery installations within our territory. It's a rebate program, so you get through your interconnection. Somebody that is trying to get through their interconnection, and this is going to help facilitate it. A lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, you can't make a 20-year solar project pencil out in your territory." My response is, I can up my rates if you would like.
That will help. The numbers, it will help.
But that's not really where we're going. So we tried to facilitate, up to $10,000, 12 kilowatt generation rates, kind of, it's all on our website. So you could look up Groton Utilities, go to Solar Plus, and it kind of lays out the process there, what you need, how you need to do it. But it's trying to facilitate more solar in our area. So that is my main goal these days. And I wanted to get you guys to see that and tell people about it. So that's really all I really want to come talk about.
So can you put enough solar on your house to be net positive, or is it something that gets?
So the rules, you can be 100%, okay? You can't go over, you can't become a net generator. But we're trying to facilitate projects that match your usage at the house.
Okay.
So say you need a 11 kilowatt system to take you off for the year, off and on, because it's not always just on. But that we're trying to match that so that a house will have as much as their usage is in solar.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
So if you go by the last 5 years, just saying whatever, however you figure it,
Right.
you'd be able to buy enough solar to be a $0 bill, or you
So
zero.
you're still,
It's not a delivery charge.
so the amount that you get back, you still are gonna have a distribution cost. So we're still gonna retain our distribution cost, but you're gonna offset your energy portion of your bill, the transmission portion of your bill, and a few other fees in there. So you're gonna see that it's a modified net metering scenario where you're probably getting like 2/3 of your value back.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of the bills that I've looked at, people are making $60 a month, something $80 a month, that type of range. Really depends on how much you're using, how big of the system is, and who you buy it from.
Yeah, some of these, so I get a lot of consumer complaints because that's what I do.
Right.
And I probably get a call a week from somebody who's disappointed with their solar install.
Okay.
Do you guys have like a calculator or something that would show for a consumer, even if they were gonna go after this? Because one of the things that kills them every time is that the interest rates are insane.
Yeah, so we don't vet companies, so we're trying to stay away from vetting who's good, who's not, because we've had
Sure, you'll get sued by somebody
good
else.
projects that come through and they're being sued by the state, 2 weeks later. So, and we don't know how they relate with the customer. So I do put on our website, I have a link to Connecticut Green Bank that does some of that vetting.
Yeah.
And they put on a list, you can put in your zip code, you can put in what service you're looking for, and they'll pump out a list of, different contractors within a 10-mile, 50-mile, 100-mile radius of that zip code, and say these people are qualified through the Green Bank to do these type of projects.
So then more to Joe's point, what if it's a $0, or if it's a zero net? Do you have a financial calculator for somebody who be able to, how would I advise
Usually the contractor does that
well, they have an incentive.
because the part of the problem is then I don't know what you're being charged for your system. I live in Waterford. I got 3 bids on my house. One was 82,000, one was 77,000, and the other was 25,000 for the same systems.
No, let me ask this a different way. You as the utility provider have a better understanding of what the rates are gonna be going forward, right? And I wanna be able to say that, okay, if I get a solar system installed, it gives me net zero. It has to be less than X dollars, maybe.
You know what your bill is now, we just need to.
Yeah, you gotta look at your bill, and part of the bill is there's the transmission piece, there's the distribution piece, and there's an energy piece. Transmission piece and the energy piece are outside of us, and they've been coming down over time, but they're a lot more volatile than they've ever been. Okay, so you're somebody else would,
Right. Yeah.
So
I
you're,
mean, our rates came down the last year. But that was just the distribution piece of it. So we can tell you that we're expecting, say, a 3% increase year after year after year for our distribution. But I can't tell you what it's gonna be in the future through ISO New England or what the transmission costs are, valued at.
You could say with the percentage of what the average or what the percentage of distribution was for the average bill of the last 3 years.
I could say that, but that's not gonna change.
Could you say your
Because I'm
distribution
still-
costs will
I'm
go
still
down
collecting that.
year over year? Because that would be a good thing to say, right?
I'm a homeowner and I know that the portion of the bill that isn't going to change and what that was over the last 3 years, I can figure out how much I want to pay for that other part.
Typically, when you
Right.
lease them, there's an escalation on there too. They like charge you more each year, you pay like 3% more.
Right, and it all depends on how you set it up.
Yeah.
There's groups that are selling these things outright. There's some that are leasing them. There are some that are doing power purchase agreements, which isn't, we don't allow that. I don't know if you guys allow that or not.
We do.
Okay,
We allow it.
okay. So there's a lot of different ways to go after this. And we don't know enough about the customer or how they're going about doing what they're doing to make this work. We can tell them what our rates are gonna be and what the distribution costs are gonna be. And we can show them their bills from the past 3 years. And usually what happens is the contractor contacts me. I get the A-OK from the customer and I give them 2 years, 3 years based on what they're looking for. And they put a proposal together based on those numbers because they have as good of a understanding of where ISO New England's gonna be than I really don't think anybody knows that, for the most part.
There's one, I think a couple things that if you wanna increase, I've been wanting to do it forever,
Okay.
but I always feel like I'm gonna do it and they're gonna come out with this thing you put on the side of your house like 3 months later that it doesn't sound like anything
Like
can
a
happen.
fusion machine?
Like, who knows, whatever. So that was one of it. Now I have a roof that's 15 years old, so I think a lot of people say, okay, I got 10 more years on this roof. I'm putting panels on, you gotta rip it off, right?
Right,
And then I would say, most people have solar salesman anxiety.
oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm a pretty strong person, strong-willed person. If you ask me to stop at Home Depot and talk to this guy about, because they will call you every single second, every day. To me, if you guys set up, if you told us that you were gonna host a informational on solar and it was gonna be ground utilities and not a salesperson, I can get a lot of people in the room that are interested, but don't want to be interested in the phone calls that they're gonna get afterwards, because I really, there's a lot of us that are really on the edge of doing it, but none of us trust the guy at Home Depot, to be frank.
They're
Or-
scamming.
It is very scammy, so if we got, just, because I was on the energy committee in Hartford, and it still like, feels like it's a little above my head of how this all works.
Right,
So I can imagine going in there, but I have, the mayor, for instance, has been very positive experience. Mayor Franco put them on their house and has $160 bill or something like that.
Yeah.
So where my bill's like averaging 300. So,
Mhm.
and I'm in a better area, but Oh, I have a lot of, I got a lot of stuff. I grow stuff. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But
Yeah, it all makes sense. Green suit last week. Oh, they dyed hair.
so, but in any case, if you guys put something together like that, I think people trust Groton Utilities.
Yeah.
And if you had an expert in solar, just,
And it was just informational, because I really, like, when they come, if I'm really mad at someone, I sign them up for solar.
and then they get 25 calls
A day.
for 8 months.
I tell them I'm Hydra. They look at me like, what?
Oh.
Leave me alone.
That gets them away?
Yeah.
See, you could give just that tip alone in this meeting and people would be happy.
Have a thing called Solarize. It looks like, I'm just looking up, it looks like they don't have it anymore. We did work in Hartford, where they actually the town basically put a bid out for solar.
Yeah.
And a bunch of providers bid. And basically, they became like the town solar installer.
Almost like we do with the trash company.
Yeah. But the town didn't do anything with the money. So basically, it was a pre-set up cost of so much per kilowatt. And the homeowners could do that. It was a lot less pressure. It was already, the price was already set.
And that was called what?
It was called Solarize. But it looks like they don't do it anymore.
That's because
Because if you're not happy with them, then they come yelling at you at the council.
It was through
What more
it was
reason?
through the Green Bank.
And that's one thing I get a lot of people saying, give me a contractor, and I just can't do that. No.
Yeah.
I don't.
For a bunch of reasons, yeah, because yeah, if you put something together, I could get some people, because we don't know enough about it. It really does, and we don't trust the salesman.
If,
Relax. You gotta get through the interconnection process. Once you're through the interconnection, you can just fill out a form, because I already have all your paperwork, basically.
So you basically get it installed with the contractor, and then after it's turned on, they go to.
Well, not even when it's turned on. So if you get through the agreement for the interconnection,
Yeah.
then they just give me the rebate form that I made up. And then I have all the information. I put them in the queue. And then they have 6 months to then get it done. And if they get it done within that time, then the rebate's gonna be back, kicked off to them. So the process isn't really that difficult if you're gonna get solar anyway and you're already in the interconnection process. I do have two houses that are already put in their rebates. I've got, I've talked to a number of contractors they're asking questions about the program and how it works and all that kind of stuff.
Whether they can raise their prices by $10,000.
Well, some of them say, hey, this would be good for a customer I have that needs to work on their roof before they go after it, So some cases they're looking at it different ways, and like, I have no problem if the customer says, hey, I'm gonna make this deal with this contractor, but I want you to pay them because I want their price to go down. And we're willing to do that as long as they sign off on it.
so if there's anything we can do as the EDC, if you want us to host or sponsor some sort of informational get together for the town or whatever, and
Okay.
maybe bring somebody who's experienced it here in our town and gone through this, and Joe could be there to
Cry.
to scare away the individuals who have.
No, an info session would be great. I'm just not sure. I personally have all the answers,
Okay.
So I can ask around and talk to some of our engineers and see if I can pull them along.
But maybe even someone who's already done it in the town, if they're willing to come
Right.
and share those experiences, it may, help people get
They have,
more.
the Green Bank probably has people that come
Yeah.
and give a talk.
That's true.
That's their deal. And they ran the Solarize program. While you're talking to them, asking about that, if they're gonna bring that back or.
Yeah.
Even if you had to bring in a contractor and he didn't, and there was a no pressure, you're not getting people's numbers today. This is you just explaining and Groton Utilities is hosting it.
Right.
Maybe something like that. A lot of people have the fear of the follow-up and everything else that goes along with it. And you mentioned that you do batteries, because some of these contracts don't allow battery,
So
which to me pushes me out, because I want to have
personally, I'd
that.
rather do a battery program.
That's what I'd rather do in
From
the house, because
from a utilities perspective, having batteries out there, being able to pull kind of have a demand type program where I'm going. But so, I got a crawl before I walk or walk before I run or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, having some batteries in place, I can then build a.
You're pushing, but the other, I know the other companies are saying, I think it's Eversource, but I don't think they have, if they do enough and when then they're using, or when they're building more energy than they're using, it just goes back on the line, but they don't want them to have battery. Where to me, I'd rather, if you don't have power, you lose power, you have your battery for a couple days or
Right.
That's to your batteries.
you can do batteries and,
You see, there's a battery, you can wire it back up. So that's like power goes out, right? You can drop your battery. And there's another battery, which is you basically charge it throughout the day when you're not home. And you can either draw on it or send the energy back to the grid.
okay,
They're two separate ones. Like the backup one isn't necessarily directly tied to the grid. You don't have to tie it to the grid.
Yeah, at
Like
this
we charge
point,
it.
with this
Yeah,
program,
charge it
we
on the
wouldn't
grid.
be tying it. We wouldn't have any control or anything like that for them.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be looking for it, but we would be talking to them about future opportunity and maybe, finding out their interest levels.
Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sir?
Okay, just a few things. First, this weekend, as already mentioned, we're gonna have the USS Iowa commissioning, which is a huge event on base. We'll probably have 4,000 or 5,000 people there, including the Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan's coming. I believe Lottie's coming as well. He's the captain there 10 years ago. So it's going to be a big event, a little bit here on the boat, another Virginia class. And also a little bit here on the last Iowa, which of course is the battleship, which is now a museum out in Los Angeles. But it's just interesting looking at that old boat. That thing is so big. It was actually made in New York at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, right there by Manhattan. Amazing that the thing fit in there, but it did. But so it's gonna be an exciting day tomorrow. All kinds of dignitaries and whatnot coming. And then on the back, just a couple of things I just threw in here because we didn't have too much going on yet. Just a word about our Public Works Department, which I'm a part of. And people don't think about this, but we have, I think, 200 and something employees that have to maintain everything on that base. I think like the town Public Works takes care of the roads and the parks and the few town buildings. But they don't take care of the utilities. Well, Robin's a little different in this town, but most of the time your town, Public Works doesn't take care of the utilities. On our base, our Public Works people have to take care of everything, all the utilities, electric, water, sewer, and they take care of every building as well, because they're all owned by the government. It's not like private houses in a town or private businesses. So every doorknob, every window, every, air conditioner, it's a huge, you just think about, we have almost 3 million square feet of floor space there in buildings. There's a lot of buildings. It's a big job. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's just people don't really think about that too much. And a lot of those folks, live right around here in town and nearby. So they're all your neighbors. And the last thing I threw on here, because they had a little bit on it on the Facebook, was just one of our high-tech trainers. This one isn't all that high-tech, but I guess it's still considered a high-tech trainer. The damage control trainer. Now, if any of you've seen videos on it, you can find them online, but it's a room. It kind of looks a little bit like a submarine or a ship hull inside. There's pipes all over the place. There's a big glass window in the control room behind. And they start off, I watched it a little while ago. It's kind of fun. They start off, they put like, I don't know, 6 or 8 sailors in there. First of all, they go into a classroom and they learn how to patch holes in the pipes with different clamps and different ropes and different, ways of packing things and whatnot. And then they go into the simulator and they start off real slow with a couple of small leaks, and then they start working on those. And then another one will pop open, another one will pop open. And as they go, they get bigger and bigger. But by the time you get to the end, there's this huge, water spraying across the room, big jet of water that they have to patch. And there's no drain in the floor. Well, there is, but it's closed. So the water's starting to go up as you're doing this. And by the time you get done, the water's up to your knees. And they have to do it within a certain amount of time or they fail and have to go back and do it again. So it's kind of an interesting trainer. It was fun to watch. And we have another one for fire. It's a big room with some different, it's real fire. It's like propane fired, electrical panel fires and different things. And they have to learn how to put that out, put those fires out. That's another neat trainer. We got quite a few of them. I can bring in some other pictures of those. Of course, our escape trainer, which you can see as you drive by the big round one. That's for getting out of the submarine, the deep swimming pool. We have a bridge trainer, which actually the state helped fund a little of that. Looks like the top of a sail.
We made it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hillary made it.
Yeah, and the guys, well, the sailors stand up there and it's basically simulating bringing a sub into port. It's got 360 video around playing video, and it can be anything from a sunny day to a hurricane. You know, they can change. That is a really high-tech trainer. And I was on the thing and it feels like it's moving because, you know, you're sort of immersed in the video all around you. It's wild. Pretty cool stuff. I was down in another base, which will come to me here in a minute, Oceana. They have one that's the back of a aircraft carrier to simulate the guys that land, that the guys that are on the carrier, I forget what they call them, but they help pilots land. So you actually use these levers that change the lights. You have to try and have the pilot land. Of course, my guy smashed into the back of the boat because I'm not very good at it, but that was wild too. Again, the whole video, it's wild. It feels like the floor is moving. It's so realistic. But it's a concrete floor. So. Anyway,
I was on a Coast Guard ship for 2 years and
those floors really move.
fire is really a big deal. We talk about it all the time, train for it all the time.
That was one of my first jobs on base, the fire trainer.
Yeah.
In 1990, it was when they built it. And then the water damage control trainer, it's funny because there's 18-year-old kids that go on it. They're teaching them how to plug leaks in a pipe, and it's literally on the boat, they have wooden wedges.
Yeah.
And on a boat, if there's an actual leak, they come up with the wedge and hammer it and then wrap leather strap around it. And I think, you know, if you're 18, you're like, I think a lot of these kids are thinking, why they show me this? Like, there's no way that this is how you patch a leak on a submarine. But apparently, I don't know. I was never on a submarine, but I'm like, that's what you use, buckets of wood and it's part of the thing. It works. And
They've got clamps.
yeah, they have clamps.
Pretty well,
It's
but yes,
crazy.
you would think, you know, on a submarine, the biggest thing you would worry about is sinking. But that's the biggest problem on a submarine is fire.
Yeah.
Because there's no place for the smoke and the heat to go.
Hmm.
You know, so you got to get that fire under control like that, or you're in.
We're delivering a trainer tomorrow. I just gotta say this, because I talked to him, but at Hillary, we basically made the bunk set. The bunks off of and we just made a surrounding. And it's funny, because you said, why are you teaching kids how to sleep? What are you doing? Because they make everything. But when you don't think about it, I was in the Navy, so I don't know. But they basically have like a 3.5-inch space by 72 inches. And 2 guys for their trip will share 3 guys will share 2 bunks. Sometimes 4 guys will share 2 bunks, and they hot bunk. So when you open it up and you're gonna be on that boat for 6 months, you have a 36 by 3-inch by about 25-inch area. That's yours. And that's it. And there's there's a hanging locker that's about this.
Yeah.
That you might have some of
And
it.
you get half of that. And that's why, you know, you get these kids when they're 18, they show up, they got this big giant bag. They think they're going on a cruise. They're not. Like, it's not.
In your room, yeah.
So those, I think about those guys wearing underway because I see where they live and I see how they do it, and I want no part of it.
Yeah, those boats, there's not an inch of free space on them. I mean, they're just jam packed with equipment.
It's
And
amazing.
it's,
And
yeah.
you should see what they're like when they walk off at every 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
When they hit downtown Honolulu, when they walk off and being out to sea. These guys
I
are,
didn't realize they have the depth perception problem. When a sailor gets off, they're not supposed to drive right away. Cause they'll go through red lights because the colors and,
They're message you up, yeah. Reminds me, if you ever want to have a meeting at the base, which may or may not include a tour if you want that. We did one a little while ago. I think you were on that, right? Yeah. And John was on it, maybe some others, but you know, I can arrange that if you want to do a meeting there, and the captain can give his little sub-base 101, which talks all about the Navy and sub-base, how it all fits together, which is pretty interesting. Our captain's leaving probably in September. He's leaving, so I was talking to the others. Well, if they want to do it, they better do it pretty quick. He's gonna be leaving, but he'd love to do that. He'd love to do that, and we could probably, you know, see if we can arrange a tour too, if you want at some point. So,
Everybody like
Yeah,
that idea?
but
Any
you
objection?
know, when you want to do it, and
Yeah, let's take it. We'll coordinate.
Yeah.
Whatever.
email me or something. and
Okay.
Figure it out.
anyway, we can fish off the back of the submarine. Going down the river. Easy.
You do the fishing.
Oh, back it up. Yeah, no. I haven't been out. I can't go out. It's a little harder to go out. Tours are easy. Going out's another story.
Cool.
They have to go out like miles before they can,
Right.
because the shelf is very far out. And they won't even submerge till there's like, I forget, it's like 600 feet of water or something. It's gotta be pretty deep before they'll even go down. They just don't want the risk of hitting something, so. But then some of the, like out west at Bangor, you can go out like 10 feet and submerge. Because it gets really deep, I guess, or down in Norfolk, I think it's that way too. You don't have to go out as far. But here you gotta go way out past Long Island into the deep water. So it's like a half a day before you can even submerge. Funny. Anyhow,
I'll offer, tours of our wastewater treatment facility.
Got in those tanks too. I have all the best jobs.
Cool. Anybody else got anything else?
Thank you so much, everyone.
Motion
Appreciate it.
to adjourn?
To adjourn?
Second, all those in favor? Aye. All right, thanks, everybody.
See you.